Madam Mayor, recording has begun.
Thank you. And I hear the bells tolling, so it must be 6 p.m. If I would like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Town Clerk, will you please take roll call?
Councilman Goldsmith? Don't see him online. Councilman Trollinger?
Present.
Mayor James?
Here.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
Present.
Councilman Jenkins?
Present.
Right. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a very full agenda tonight. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Council, have you had the opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, do I have a motion to accept minutes?
The minutes, and it was August 9th. Did you see this?
You didn't get the other two didn't show up? Okay, they are here. Yep. Did you all have an opportunity to read that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to have a second to look at it? Cheers. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we accept the August 9th, August 16th, and August 23rd, 2022 meeting minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the Neighborhood Grants Awards. So this is always a fun time for us. It's fantastic when the community engages within their own area, and then they invite us because we give them money. So that's always a good thing. So I am going to have the 5 recipients come on down, and we're going to do it all at one time. So Christ Church, Faith Temple, Steeplechase, Halden Court, and King's Grant.
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna sit down here so we have a little bit more room. And I'm gonna put each of them on the spot, which they have no idea that they're going to be. So come on and step up up here a little bit. So then we'll take that nice picture there. All right. If you could on the stage, please start with your pastor and tell them what you're going to be using the funding for.
We're having a family fun fest on this coming Sunday from 1 to 3 outside at Christ Church. So the prayers are for the weather to be, that the wonderful grant will not go into a very soggy event, but our intention is to just bring families together for fun and get to know each other.
Thank you.
I am Christy Charnock, and we're on Haldane Court. And our little neighborhood will be having a fall festival with a cookout, and we're gonna do s'mores, and hopefully if the weather is nice, we will watch a movie on a big screen. We got rights to see the new Minion movie that just came out. So I'm really excited.
Very fun. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pat Garrett from Steeplechase, and we're having a block party October 22nd. So all the Steeplechase people here, if you could see me before you leave and give me your names and numbers so I can give you a job to do.
I'm Gary Eisenbrown. I'm president of the HOA over at Kings Grant, and we are having our 7th annual Turkey Trot 5K on Thanksgiving morning.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
And the one that I'm holding is for Faith Temple Church, Pastor Simmons, and I'm assuming that he wasn't able to make it, but we do have his grant award for him.
And as we like to say, the check is in the mail, so if they haven't received it yet, they will be. Did we get the picture taken that we needed to? It was a photo op moment. Thank you. Thank you all very much. And best of luck with your events.
Thank you.
Bring upside down. Next on the agenda is. Oh, it's the- That's good. And I don't have my glasses on. All right.
It's the CEO of Legit.
Yes. You didn't bring up for him.
I'm gonna reverse the flow of money tonight. Rather than get money from you, I'm gonna give money back to you.
Yeah, love that.
My name's Tim Aylesworth. I'm the Executive Director of Legit Local Government Insurance Trust, which is a trust owned and governed by local government officials. You're represented in this area by Eric, I'm sorry, my mind's gone blank, the treasurer for Charles County. But at any rate, we have 12 elected officials or appointed officials who govern us, and I report to that board of trustees. And we've been in business since 1987, and it's a very successful model in that we were able to return money back to our members in the form of sponsoring MML and MACO conferences. We return money in the form of grants like this. This is actually the 10th grant that the town of La Plata has received in the last 10 years. And so I'm proud tonight to present a check for $2,442 for internal affairs investigation training. And so you're very welcome.
Town manager, accept that one. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you so much. You know, you are a very important part of municipalities, and we could not do what we do without having a safety net like Legit. So thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to Legit.
I want to introduce Kenneth Harvey. He is our newest police officer. Kenneth was in the United States Marine Corps. He's a retired staff sergeant from the U.S. Army Reserves. He did 27 years at the Metropolitan Police Department, where he served in the patrol, narcotics, and was a member of their honor guard. He's currently in the Prince George's Municipal Academy's comparative compliance class. He's got about 2.5 weeks to go, and then he will hit the street and field training. So we are delighted to have Kenneth with us.
Well, we're gonna make this official. Are you ready for this? Because once you swear in, you're ours.
Okay.
All right. So I am going to have you, thank you, have you repeat after me, and we'll make this all official. I state your name.
Kenneth Harvey,
Do swear that I will support
do swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof.
and that I will,
And I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the duties of police officer of the town of La Plata
execute the duties of police officer of the town of La Plata
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
Congratulations and welcome aboard. I'm going to have you sign each of these here, and then it is official. No Hollywood signature there. And would you like to say a few words? Well, let me put it this way. You want to say a few words. There you go.
Well, first of all, I would like to, introduce my wife, Melanie, my son, Ken Jr., and my daughter, Chloe. Without their support, none of all this would be possible, especially her patience and understanding with me wanting to continue my law enforcement career. I look forward to serving the town of La Plata. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Badge, challenge coin. There's the badge and challenge coin.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And are
you.
you taking these?
Yeah, I can take, actually. That one's for you,
All right.
and then we'll file this one.
Thank you.
All right.
So we have several proclamations to hand out today. It's always great when we can recognize a specific event or something that, a month that is notable. So today I have the privilege of giving a proclamation to Rocktoberfest. So Keith, come on down. If you have not heard, there's a little event that's going to go on. And it is definitely not going to rain this weekend because I have it on good authority that it's not going to. So we are going to, and council, if you would like to join all of us, I will just read it. Come on down here. Let's do this in numbers. So the Town of La Plata Proclamation, Rocktoberfest, October 1st, 2022. Whereas Rocktoberfest is a significant cultural event offering extraordinary music performances by local, regional, and world-renowned musicians. And whereas Rocktoberfest has become a destination festival for attracting music enthusiasts, families, and people of all ages from near and far. And whereas since its humble beginnings in 2014, Rocktoberfest has evolved from a handful of talented musicians performing in a small space in the back of Casey Jones to an ever-growing street festival with outstanding artists who attract thousands of citizens for an unforgettable musical experience. And whereas Rocktoberfest continues to bring the community together on the first Saturday of October, and whereas to date, Rocktoberfest has donated over $135,000 to the Charles County Public Schools music and performing arts programs. And whereas the community of the La Plata and the surrounding areas celebrate the return of Rocktoberfest, an unique event to the La Plata and Southern Maryland area. And now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim October 1st, 2022, to be Rocktoberfest in the Town of La Plata. The council urges all citizens to join us in celebrating and supporting Rocktoberfest and to thank them for their contribution to the town of La Plata, Charles County, and Southern Maryland. And it specifically says, I'm just going to write it in now, come rain or shine. So come out here and celebrate. But I just want to say how important this event is to our town. And thank you. It's not been easy, I'm sure, of trying to put on something of this magnitude. There's a lot of moving parts and you have done beautifully. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you very
Greatly
much.
appreciate it. All right. You know that's how it goes. The only time we're quiet. Thank you. Do you want to say any words for today, for this weekend?
No, I just want to thank the council for recognizing Oktoberfest. It's great to be back. It's been a long 3 years getting ready for this day. So we're very excited. We hope the weather holds off and we hope that we raise a lot of money to donate to the school system. So thank you again for the recognition.
Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. All right, next on the agenda, Council, where are you going? We're all staying here. Come home. Community Planning Month. Okay, can you, well, all right, you know what? They can sit. So that's just proclaiming these, so we don't have recipients for these.
Read a proclamation, whereas this is a Community Planning Month, October 2022, whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, and counties, boroughs, township, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a very way that provides better choices for people and how people work and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas community planning and plans are essential to recovery, and plans can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting recovery. And whereas the full benefits of planning require public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the celebration of the National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to improve the town of La Plata. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community plans of the town of La Plata and extend our heartfelt thanks for their continued commitment to public service by these professionals. And now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim October 2022 to be Community Planning Month in the Town of La Plata. The council urges all citizens to recognize and appreciate the dedication and contribution of community planners to enhancing the lives of our citizens and businesses. This is will be signed today by the Town Council, Janine James Mayor, James Goldsmith, Councilman, Matthew Trollinger, Councilman, Evelyn Bryant Ward, Councilwoman, and myself, David Jenkins, Councilman.
Thank you very much. And how appropriate is this when we have a room full of people listening about future planning, so community planning. So thank you very much, Councilman Jenkins. The next one, the next proclamation is Trick or Treat.
Madam Mayor, that's mine. Whereas Crane Highway, Charles Street, and Washington Avenue are heavily traveled streets in this area, making it extremely dangerous for groups of children to walk along the streets and highways after dark. And whereas it is shared responsibility to take every action possible to protect the children of our community, and the town has for many years encouraged community parties and limiting trick or treating to a child's own immediate neighborhood as methods of providing safe fun for our children. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim that for those who wish to continue with the traditional form of trick or treat evening, Monday, October 31st, 2022, from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. shall be recognized as Trick or Treat Evening in the Town of La Plata. Parents are urged to accompany their children as chaperones to not allow their children to walk along Charles Street, Washington Avenue, or Crane Highway, and are urged to not allow children 12 years of age or older to trick or treat. If older children are allowed, they are asked not to wear masks. All children are encouraged to wear reflective tape or other reflective material on their costumes so they are visible as they walk along the streets, and to use flashlights to help light their way. They are also encouraged to not wear masks, which would limit their ability to easily see vehicles or other hazards as they walk from house to house. Parents are urged to be sure their children are off the streets by 8 p.m. on Trick or Treat evening. All those who must drive during trick or treat hours are reminded to be especially careful of the children who will be walking along the streets in town. This will be signed by the Council of the Town of La Plata, Janine E. James, Mayor, James Goldsmith, Councilman, Matthew D. Trollinger, Councilman, Evelyn Bryant Ward, Councilwoman, David M. Jenkins, Councilman.
And if you did not know, this year the popular costumes are from Stranger Things and Duttons from Yellowstone. So you'll see a lot of those. So if you see the cowboy hats, act like you know, just it's the Yellowstone, all right? I know I never know who they are, so I'm helping you guys out today. Next month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it has a really special meaning to me because my sister is a breast cancer survivor. So we have a proclamation. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is October 2022, whereas breast cancer is the second most commonly diagnosed form of cancer for women in the United States and remains the second leading cause of death among American women. And whereas breast cancer is about 100 times more common in women than men, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with the disease, and diagnosis increase as patients get older. And whereas doctors estimate that about 5 to 10% of breast cancers are hereditary, and individuals whose family history puts them at risk for breast cancer should discuss with their doctor or qualified health professional the proper prevention and early diagnosis strategies. And whereas since early diagnosis strategies have been introduced, the first 5-year survival rate for the breast cancer patients have dramatically increased, now at 89.7%. And whereas during the month of October, we acknowledge the extraordinary commitment and effort invested by researchers, scientists, and numerous nonprofit organizations dedicated to discovering the cure for breast cancer. And whereas we recognize that over 2.5 million Americans are breast cancer survivors, giving us hope of a better future. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim October 2022 to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of La Plata. The council urges all citizens to support efforts to raise awareness and increase research for breast cancer treatments, as well as to consider their own health and risk for the disease. And it is signed by the council, Mayor Janine James, Councilman Jim Goldsmith, Councilman Matt Trollinger, Councilwoman Evelyn Bryant Ward, and Councilman David Jenkins. So you know what, it goes, we hear it all the time, early detection, but statistically it is proven early detection. So I am proud that I am able to announce that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Next is Pedestrian Safety Month.
Yes, I'm Matt Trollinger from Ward 2. Nice to see everybody here tonight. Whereas statistics indicate that one pedestrian is hit every 7 minutes, and tens of thousands of pedestrians, many of them children and older adults, are hit, hurt, and killed every year. And whereas statistics further indicate that pedestrian impulsiveness is too often a factor in the incidence of injury and death of pedestrians, and whereas statistics further indicate that drivers are not aware of or are ignoring crosswalk laws. And whereas through continued public awareness, education, and enforcement of Maryland's pedestrian crosswalk safety laws, death and serious injury can be significantly reduced. And whereas the Council of the Town of La Plata is committed to encouraging a walking downtown in the Town of La Plata and wish to help ensure a safe pedestrian environment by promoting education about and enforcement of Maryland's pedestrian and crosswalk safety laws. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim October 2022 to be Pedestrian Safety Awareness Month in the Town of La Plata. The Council encourages all citizens to look out for pedestrians, drive with care, and be aware of and comply with Maryland's pedestrian and crosswalk safety laws. This will be signed by the Mayor, Janine James, Councilman James Goldsmith, Councilman Matthew Trollinger, Councilwoman Evelyn Bryant Ward, and Councilman David Jenkins.
And it goes hand in hand with Halloween, so pedestrian safety. And the last proclamation for this evening is Walktober.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, Dave Jenkins from Ward 4. This is something also near and dear to my heart since I'm a reformed runner, now I'm a walker. So this is a proclamation, whereas walking is the state of Maryland's official exercise, and whereas walking is known to provide physical and mental benefits that boost our emotional well-being, ease symptoms related to chronic mental health conditions like anxiety and depression, improve cardiovascular health, weight loss and sleep, reduce cholesterol and tiredness, and increase energy and endurance. And whereas walking is a critical component of well-being for people throughout our state. And whereas walking with or without assistance is an activity available to people of all ages and abilities. And whereas walking is a key element of Maryland's transportation and recreation network. And whereas the Town of La Plata is committed to creating a walkable and sustainable community. And whereas remembering that we are all pedestrians at some point during our day, Walktober brings heightened attention to pedestrian safety in conjunction with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's October National Pedestrian Safety Month. Now, therefore, we, the Council of the Town of La Plata, do hereby proclaim October 2022 to be Walktober in the town of La Plata. The council encourages all citizens and businesses to incorporate walking into the day-to-day lives and operations. Signed by Janini James, Mayor, James Goldsmith, Councilman, Matthew D. Trollinger, Councilman, Evelyn L. Bryant Ward, Councilwoman, and myself, David M. Jenkins, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you can see October is quite the month, a lot of things going on. So thank you, Council, for recognizing the various proclamations. Next on our agenda is public comment on agenda items, not public hearing yet. So if you have anything that you would like to discuss that is on the agenda today, please come up, state your name and whether you live within the incorporated town limit, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do I have anyone who would like to speak on the agenda items today? Oh, I misread this room. I thought you were all here for the agenda items. Good. Well, I look forward to hearing from you in a little bit. Next on the agenda is the Chief's monthly report. Council, have you had the opportunity to read the Chief's report? And do we have any questions for the Chief? Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, Dave Jenkins from Ward 4. Just a couple of comments. Again, Chief, thanks for the great report. And I just wanted to say a couple of things. Again, want to congratulate you and your team on your community engagement. There's a lot of stuff you're doing, and so it's really appreciated. And I'll say that helps make connection with our community. Also, and I think it's important that you're telling that story. So thank you. Congratulations to you also as a second VP of the Maryland Chiefs of Police Association. I think that reflects your professionalism and experience. And also, I believe one of your officers was recognized. So congratulations, Corporal, I'm going to mispronounce his name. Pierce. So congratulations to him as well for his service. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just one question. So, Chief, thank you, Madam Mayor, Evelyn Bryant, Ward 3. You've done a lot of hiring recently, and that's really great. So where do we stand now in terms of officers? Where are we lacking?
Well, we have Mr. Harvey, who was just sworn in. He's 2.5 weeks away from going to field training for us. That's good. I have 2 that will begin October 14th in the Anne Arundel County Police Academy. Chief Awad was kind enough to give us 2 slots there. They focus, and back to Councilman Jenkins' point, they're very big on 21st century policing. So that's why we really like that academy, because they preach the community-based kind of thing, and it's instilled from day one there. We hired another officer. She begins right around the 24th of October. We have 2 pending positions out there, one through an MOU, and the other is the COPS grant that we applied for. We should know in the next 3 days whether we receive that. We do have candidates in the hopper if we have those positions. So we're short on the street. I've got 2 that were injured on duty that I'm waiting to get back. And then I have another one off on a different type of medical leave. And then I have the folks that I'm waiting for to make it to the training academies.
Okay, much better position than we were. So
Yeah,
thank you.
than 3 months ago. Absolutely.
Thank you. Chief, could you please take a second to inform everyone of Faith in Blue event? This is a new event that we haven't had before. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's 4 or 5 years old. The Maryland Chiefs and Sheriffs have embraced this. This is where members of law enforcement meet up with their faith-based partners. As the council knows, we work a lot with our faith-based partners. The Kent Avenue Block Party is a big part of that. So this just gives those folks to come out, and anybody else from the community to come out. We're going to be cooking hot dogs, have a bounce house, and just have a time of interaction in a very low-key, non-confrontational kind of way. Yes. Yeah, good. I got it. Hold on. It is October 8th, and it'll be on the concert lawn.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
All right, I just wanted to thank Mr. Aylesworth for the legit grant that will help us send 2 commanders to some very good training that we probably couldn't afford if we didn't get a little bit of assistance. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Harrington. Council, do you have any questions for Planning Department? Very good report.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
for just, I guess, like two comment, a comment and a question. Thank you for the format. I like the format and improvement. And then I just have and I know we talked about it. The update on the proposed traffic signal in Charles Street.
So I reached out to the applicant for Pine Grove, formerly Heritage Green. And they stated that they were still waiting on approval from the State Highway Administration. And that if the town council would be willing to write a letter of support, that would be most helpful. So I will leave that to you to decide if you want to move forward with that.
Thank you very much.
And that's based upon a revised traffic report, correct? From the-
They did a traffic impact study and that was updated and reviewed by the state, the county, and the town's traffic consultant with Mead and Hunt.
So that's been done pretty recently then, right?
Yes,
Okay. And then they're going to be required to do updates as the development proceeds.
there are certain milestones for that,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. So hopefully we can maybe get a letter. If the council has that thought process, maybe we can draft a letter.
I'm going to ask if there is a consensus to move
Okay,
forward
thank
with
you.
a letter of support for a traffic light. We're going there. I am in favor of that.
I am as well.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, well, that was one thing checked
Thank
off
you.
the list.
I didn't
We'll
mean to
get
jump
that
the
going.
gun, but thank you.
That's all right. We got you going. Any other questions for Director Harrington? Just a comment that, oh my words, you are busy and thank you for all that you do for the town. You're doing a fabulous job. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Director Stahl. Do we have any questions for Director Stahl on his report?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go last this time.
Councilman Bryant Ward.
Don't fight over me.
Director Stahl, I thought we were getting 2 trash trucks. The bid is for 1.
It is for 1, but we're going to ask for 2. We're going to ask for the approval for 2 in tonight's report. So it will be for 2 trucks.
Will each truck have the 2 Barker trappers or whatever it's called, that $11,000? Because the one quote that we have, everything else is a 1. And then there's this one item that's 2 and it's $11,000.
Tippers, they're the tippers on the back that flip the trash cans up. So there are 2 of those on each one of the trucks and they're specifically welded into the body. So yes, there are 2 on each truck. So it would be a total of 4 for 2 trucks.
So why would we only have a bid for 1? They don't give you a discount for multiple?
They don't at this point. And I'll go over that it is a very complex situation at this point.
Okay.
Councilman Jenkins.
Thank you. Director Stahl, again, a lot of good information. And I just want to compliment your department because you're going out and finding folks to backfill positions and looking at new positions. So thanks for
We're
that.
trying.
I know it's been difficult, but
It has, but
that's
it's
appreciated.
moving along. We have,
And then thank you for the tour of Pine Grove the other day. That was quite enlightening to see all that's going on back there. But more importantly, the very important work that the staff is doing to ensure adherence to the right standards of engineering and construction. So thank you for that. And then just one final question, other than a comment. Any additional issues with any construction traffic entering, leaving the site?
since the paving has taken place and we do have it paved on all the way to Caroline Drive at this point, there hasn't been as big an issue. Although when we're last week, for instance, they were bringing stone in large quantities to put in a foot of stone on top of the compacted earth. So of course, when you're paving a long distance like that, it takes hundreds of loads. And so bringing that many trucks in, but with it being paved, it has made it easier. And with both sides, they do tend to come in 488. And then, so they're coming down the state highway and they're able to just pull off to the side of the road and then back directly up the hill. So they have been just backing in and been able to dump. So I think it's been a little bit smoother now with the paving at the entrance there. It has been much easier and they haven't had to stage across the road except in rare occasions. So it's been better.
Yeah, the only other issue, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, that, you know, some of those trucks pull out and I just had a concern. You
No
have a
doubt.
collective concern about traffic safety, particularly as the school buses enter and leave Willow Lane.
We have requested of DR Horton that they require the contractor, whoever that might be, who has numerous trucks on the large days where we have large number of trucks, to put a flagman
Okay.
at the entrance to help stop traffic and to alleviate some of the problems. So it has been a challenge for us, but we are working with them to try and facilitate getting it done.
Thank you.
Just comment, Director Stahl, thanks for the report and thanks for trying to keep an active ear to the ground as problems develop over the town and trying to get your folks out as soon as possible. I know there's a long list of things that come up through the course of any given week. But some of the activities that took place in Kings Grant to take care of some major safety issues are finally getting resolved is huge, especially trick or treating coming up. You know, it's only so many paths that children will make without accidentally stepping through cones. And the town's finally been able to address some of those longstanding issues, and it's what the town's for, is we're here for the residents. So I appreciate that you've been able to get out there and a continual effort of trying to hold folks accountable to our residents and what their plans were and following through with that. So I know it's a perpetual effort. So
It is.
thanks for your work on that.
Appreciate it very much.
Right, anything else? Thank you very much,
Thank
Director
you.
Stahl. Interim Director Phipps, Legislative Services Phipps. Do we have any questions for? No short jokes. Do we have any questions for Director Phipps?
Madam Mayor, just a comment, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Again, thanks for the report. Really good that you list all those proclamations and legislation that keeps us on our toes. Just so you know, and it'll be later on in the agenda, the Parks and Recreation Commission did meet September 14th, and we do have an application for a member on the commission, and hopefully that'll be brought forward to the council shortly. And I think that will complete the membership on the commission.
I'll have to review the memberships.
And thank you very much for the report. You all are very, very busy as well. So thank you. Any other comments for Director Phipps? Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our next item. It is our public hearing. So welcome, everyone. And thank you for attending and listening to all of the great things that the council and town do beforehand, before you're here. And I know that you have a concern. So I appreciate you joining us. Before officially calling this hearing to order, I would like the town clerk to review the procedures of this hearing. Mr. Town Clerk, would you please review this procedures?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Town of La Plata public hearings will be conducted in the following manner. At the discretion of the mayor, speakers' comments may be limited to 3 minutes and may not be yielded. If you are joining the public hearing virtually and wish to speak for the record, you must announce your name when joining the meeting and state that you intend to speak during the hearing in the comments section. Keep your phone audio muted until called to speak. If you are attending in person, a sign-up sheet is provided at the entry of the council chambers, and you should indicate that you wish to speak. The town clerk will add your name to the speakers list. Registration to speak will end when the public hearing is opened. Written documents for the record should have been emailed to the town clerk, who will have then presented to the mayor prior to the opening of the hearing. At the conclusion of this public hearing, if the record is held open and you have questions you would like to submit written documents for the record, please contact the town clerk prior to the close of the record by phone 301-960-3507, by fax 301-934-3965, or email legislative@townoflaplata.org.
Thank you very much. Mr. Town Clerk, I would like to officially call this public hearing to order at 6:40. Mr. Town Clerk, has the notice of the public hearing been properly advertised?
Yes, for the record, the public hearing was advertised in the Southern Maryland newspaper on September 9th, 2022, as the affidavit of the town clerk and related certificate of publications will reflect. And related certificate of publication will reflect. Additionally, the signs were posted on the proposed annexation site and certified letters were sent to all adjacent and contiguous property owners. The affidavits are attached to the agenda.
Okay, I don't think we had an annexation, so it was just the, maybe that's old verbiage. Well, that's all right, we'll roll with it. It was properly advertised, it was in the newspaper, and that's what we needed to do. We did it anyways, right? All right. Recommendation, Director Harrington, come on down. You'll probably have to move that one up.
Hi, a little bit. Good evening, town council members and mayor. So I will keep my overview brief. I know that there's a lot of information in my staff report. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read through it. And it was presented at the planning commission meetings as well. So we are here tonight for the master site development plan amendment public hearing for the villages of Steeplechase to include phase 3 of their overall development. The property is zoned PDST, which is Planned Development Steeplechase, and the approximate size is 122.73 acres. The applicant submitted an application in accordance with section 191-12.b of the town code for the review of an amended master site development plan for the Steeplechase development. As required by the town code, the town council held a meeting on July 12th, 2022 to review the master site development plan and provided a consensus to proceed with public hearings. To give a very brief background, the property was annexed in 1978. The master site development plan, as we currently know it, was adopted in 2005 to include the T&D zoning overlay, which is no longer in place. That's why it was zoned PDST, to kind of grandfather those stipulations from their approvals. In 2016, we had a revised T&D preliminary plan approved that had 4 dwelling types established. In 2017, the revised master site development plan had been submitted, but then it was put on hold. 2018, the plan development ST zone was established and the property was rezoned. So on August 3rd, that brings us to current time. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on the amended master site development plan and received comments from the public. The consensus was reached to table the discussion until September 6th. During this timeframe, the owner met with the residents in the community and proposed to revise the master site development plan to reduce the total number of units in phase 3 from 193 to 189. The removal of these units was to provide upgraded roadways and a few other additional changes that will eventually be noted on the preliminary plat if we get to that point. On September 6th, the Planning Commission reconvened to discuss the development and provided a consensus to recommend approval of the master site development plan that was submitted on August 29th, 2022, with the condition that the town work with the developer to provide a second entrance. I will provide an update that the developer has submitted a traffic impact study that was sent to the town's traffic consultant, Mead and Hunt, as State Highway, as well as Charles County Government, to coordinate the reviews. So for the condition that the Planning Commission provided, staff did note that a second access off of 301 through the town public works facility is not feasible at this point in time. So we needed to look at what other options we might have. We have provided an attachment A if we do proceed with the resolution portion, the legislative portion. There is a template for attachment A for a proposed condition stipulation of approval of the master site development plan. We did this to honor the recommendation by the Planning Commission and to provide a general condition of approval to ensure that we are looking at the assessment of the traffic of cumulative impact of the projects in the Southwest Quadrant, develop a plan to address operational concerns in the Southwest Quadrant, including roadway approaches from other quadrants insofar as they may be affected, agree on an equitable distribution of costs, including participation by public agencies and developers, to review any mitigation that might be needed along Route 301 in that area. Now, again, this is a template. This can be used by the council, or you can amend it or not use it. It's just there for your reference. So for the town council action tonight, after the the public hearing portion, you can choose to close the public hearing and move to approve the master site development plan submitted on August 29th, 2022 as presented. Move to approve the revised steeplechase master site development plan submitted on August 29th, 2022 with conditions. And again, if that's the condition we propose as a template, or if you have your own, you can deny the revised master site development plan submitted on August 29th and list reasons for denial, or you can table the discussion for a future meeting date. So with that, I will conclude my staff report. If you have any questions of me, I'm happy to answer those at this time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Harrington, what is the process for approving an amended master site development plan? What is the process? Because it's my understanding that the traffic has nothing to do with the master site development plan. There's a process in place that comes later when we start talking about preliminary plans.
So as part of the master site development plan process in the town zoning code, there is a place where it does say that traffic impacts need to be looked at. So that is what we have done at this point. The details, the preliminary plat, where the interparcel connections are going to happen, what mitigation is going to take place, those will all be reviewed and taken into consideration during the preliminary plat, because that is the actual development phase. At this point, the master site development plan is laying the building blocks for how they can develop, basically continuing on the approvals from 2005. So that is the main context of what we're doing here. And for this master site development plan, the difference between the one from 2005 and the one that's being proposed is the addition of 9.49 acres, which will increase the density due to the increase of acreage. So that is the only main difference between the 2005 plan and the current plan that is proposed tonight. And again, they submitted the traffic impact analysis to show that they are doing their due diligence to look at the traffic and access needs for the development.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Thank you for the report. You mentioned that the traffic impact report was submitted to our traffic consultant and then the county and then the state. Do we have any idea when their comments could be coming back
So
after their review?
So it's going to be an ongoing discussion. Once we get our reviews in, we have to talk to the state highway because this is a state road.
Right.
The town cannot require or force any mitigation or improvements along 301. So any discussion, any actual improvements or mitigation that are done, that's why we put our attachment A stipulation the way we did, that prior to the submission of a preliminary plat for the subject project, that we would work together to do those reviews and to find any ways to mitigate that we could possibly do. Now, if State Highway says absolutely not, you cannot do anything, then that's out of our control, that's out of our hands. But again, with Pine Grove, we need to look at what's going to be best for the town, provide letters of support, and try to see how we can mitigate traffic to be health and safety and welfare for all of our residents. So we do have a few items of looking at intersections to the north and to the south, as well as the U-turns to see what mitigation might be feasible.
So we have some way to have some influence with the State Highway Administration with respect to a letter or something that would express some concern about that.
Yes. So since we do not have an adequate public facilities ordinance
Right.
adopted at this time,
Mhm.
we are using the Charles County APFO and the state highway guidelines as the basis for the review. So Jamie Kendrick with Mead and Hunt is doing an excellent job, and he's coordinating the review with state highway as well as Charles County at this point.
This is probably not a question to ask you, but is the traffic consultant here or will he be here or he's not? I just have one question.
I'm not sure if. oh,
So that I can ask that later or what's appropriate? I mean, I don't know.
Go ahead and ask it now.
So the traffic report, I'm asking, is there any accident data, current accident data or that's along that stretch of 301 that's available?
Come on down.
Give it to me. Give it to him. He's the traffic guy.
He's got him.
Let me introduce us first. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. We appreciate the opportunity to present this project to the town tonight. Steve Scott, I'm the attorney for the developer. Ron Reimer, the actual developer or development representative is here. Kathy Flerlagi and Mike Prisbaki from the civil engineer, Soltez, and seems like the man of the hour is Mike Lenhart from Lenhart Traffic Consulting. And as was mentioned, of course, it may be a little bit premature to get into detailed issues of traffic impacts and traffic impact studies, but we thought it a good idea to bring Mike. And we did, of course, hurry up after the Planning Commission proceeding and get Mike to push some other things aside and prepare this traffic impact study for us. So I guess we'll address that question first.
Go ahead, Mike.
Good evening. So for the record, Michael Lenhart, Lenhart Traffic Consulting. We did not conduct crash analysis. The crash data is maintained by State Highway Administration. We don't have access to it. And so therefore we did not include it. The state will release it with request from the town, but it was not included, not requested.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions for Director Harrington, who already scooted over there? Good. So thank you, Mr. Scott, for introducing your team here. I am going to give you the floor so that you can present what you need to present.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We, as Director Harrington indicated, and as the staff report indicated, this application started life as a relatively straightforward amendment to the master site development plan for Steeplechase, which was enacted, or I guess last revised in 2005. I guess the application took on somewhat of a life of its own, and as has been indicated here, some of that may be a little premature because we're talking about adding 9.5 acres to the master site development plan and the associated density that adds to the master site development plan. Detailed planning, detailed engineering comes later. There will be a preliminary subdivision process and then a final subdivision process. I'm told by Kathy here with Soltez, who's here somewhere, that it won't be a great deal of time until the developer is ready to submit for preliminary subdivision approval. That is almost ready because that's a more of a general look at what the conceptual layout will be. And then with that, or after that, the more detailed design and engineering comes into place. In front of the Planning Commission, we tried to sort of keep steering this proceeding back to the amendment of the master site development plan. I think that it's clear the community, and of course this is, as everybody knows, a very, very nice community. They wish to maintain that beauty and that uniqueness of their community, of course. But
as I said, we decided we probably should do a traffic study at this point and bring Mike Linhart with us. I should mention, and Mr. Reimer will be next up, I should mention that there have been a number of discussions since the Planning Commission proceeding between the developer and the community and various members of the community, including a meeting between members of the community and Mr. Reimer. And I believe Director Harrington also attended that meeting. So there have been some attempts to try and address the concerns of the community. I think Mr. Reimer can explain that for us. We do take record notice for purposes of this proceeding of the staff report prepared by the planning director. Staff report does indicate that we're consistent with the zoning ordinance, consistent with the comprehensive land use plan. But of course, if there are any detailed questions about consistency, we can certainly address those as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Reimer and let him give a more general presentation.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I'm going to give a recap that was very similar to what I gave at the Planning Commission. Sorry for the residents that are going to have to listen to this again, but for the town council, I think it probably is important that I go through this once again. And I usually do more off-lib, but I want to go through this script. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Town Council. My name is Ron Reimer. I'm the developer and have been the sole builder in the villages of Steeplechase. Again, wow, as I mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting last month, I would never imagine I could generate such a crowd for a town council meeting for approval of an amended master site development plan that has been acknowledged by the Town Planning Commission since 2005 and within the town comprehensive plan of 2009 and 2010. Excuse me, 2020. I'm here before you this evening for one purpose, and that is for the town council to give its approval that I have met all the requirements of an amended master site development plan. And why is it an amended master site development plan? It is because I added 9.49 acres of property to the overall 115 acres in 2017. In 2015, another developer owned this 9.49 acres. And is there another? Can you show me the preliminary plan that's has a? No, the one that Janine has. Yep. Right. Thank you. Got this again. A pointer does not work on this television. It's very, as I said last time, I'm not a multitasker, so I will do my very best here. And this is probably going to take a second to upload. This is phase 1 of Steeplechase. This is phase 2 of Steeplechase. This is, thank you very much. This is phase 3 of Steeplechase. This triangle right here is the 9.49 acres of land that I added in 2017. As I was, so the developer had this piece of property and he rezoned it from light industrial to residential and was now planning to construct at least 48 townhomes that had no likeness, no planning, no architectural controls that we have in the village of Steeplechase. I was advised by my banker, my accountant, and my investor this was not a prudent financial decision, as at the time I was averaging 17 lot sales per year for the previous 10 years and still had 300 lots to develop. Frankly, the last thing I needed to do at that time was to incur more personal debt and acquire more property when I was barely surviving financially. I did not take their advice. It was important to me to make sure the continuity of the overall property was maintained. So I purchased the property on February 27th, 2017. Tonight, you are seeing the amended master site development plan that is part of the overall T&D approval process. As stated by Janine Harrington of the town's planning department, the amended master site development plan is consistent with the requirements for site development within planned development zones in the town of La Plata. approval of the amended master site development plan to allow development of Steeplechase Phase 3 would advance the goals and objectives of the 2020 Town of La Plata Comprehensive Plan and promote conformity within the established and previously approved standards for development within the Steeplechase community. In all candidness, this should be the end of this conversation. The town council should open the discussion up to the public and take the recommendation of the planning department and the planning commission and approve the amended master site development plan so I can continue through the normal approval process. Unfortunately, I think tonight's comments has the possibility to become a discussion on questions, issues, and concerns about the amended master site development plan that are not typically answered at this stage of the approval process, and probably an overall referendum on the residential growth of the town of La Plata in general. I respectfully ask the town council to hear these concerns as I have, but respectfully focus on the fact that tonight's sole request is for an approval on an amended master site plan that has been on the books for over 17 years, recommended by your staff, and fulfills the comprehensive plan. To be clear to everyone, this is not an annexation, a rezoning of land, a change in land planning concept. It is exactly the continuation of the villages of Steeplechase from Phase 1 and Phase 2, and which had been in the comprehensive plan from 2009 and updated in 2020 when the adjacent property was purchased. While the majority of the concerns and issues the community put together and what happened to visionary planning are typically not discussed at the master site development plan approval, but instead addressed in the next step in the development process, I would be negligent not to recognize the time and effort of the presentation. First and foremost, I think it says everything about the villages of Steeplechase community that one of our town council members, 2 of our 5 current town of La Plata planning commissioners, the first alternate, and a prior planning commissioner chose to live in our community. We also have a current Charles County senior planner, a retired Charles County director of planning growth management, who also chose to live here. So we must have done something right today. While I was not expecting the amount of public outcry for this approval, as this has been planned for over 17 years, we are using primarily the same land plan concepts, architectural designs from Phase 1 and Phase 2. I have tried to reach out to the community since I heard the concerns. When the first public notification came out, I received a phone call on Friday night, July 15th, from a single family homeowner located in this area. These are all single families down here, which is very unusual in the villages of Steeplechase. T&D has very little single families. We actually only have these 12 and these 11 right here. We actually only had 23 single families in the development currently. I met him on the following Monday to discuss his concerns, and I believe we walked away that morning that he appreciated the effort, what we had done in this area from a planning standpoint. The following Wednesday, July 20th, I received a request from the members of our monthly HOA committee to have permission to use the residence club for the community so they could prepare for the upcoming planning commission meeting. I thought it would be helpful for me to be available to answer any questions, but this request was denied. I then asked the HOA monthly committee members that I be provided an opportunity to address any issues or concerns after their meeting and before the planning commission meeting. I was never given a response that they wanted this to occur. After the August 3rd planning commission meeting, I met with 11 residents on August 9th to discuss their primary concerns and provided solutions, and then met with the entire community on August 30th. Funny fact, I actually received a text from one of the most vocal of these homeowners after the August 9th meeting that stated, "You have no more resistance with these changes. If needed, I can write a letter of support." In hindsight, I wish I had asked them to send that letter in. I have tried to my best ability to meet the community's request. Another pocket park. No parking with Catalpa Drive. All residences accessible by public right-of-way. Architectural specs and landscaping specs for common areas, as well as on individual landscaping, lot landscaping, and an inclusion of a pavilion in Phase 3. I'll show you some of those in a second. As I mentioned before, numerous items in the community presentation, traffic, stormwater management, environmental concerns are addressed farther down the approval process and not a requirement for town council to give its approval of the amended master site development plan. But overall, I think it was a well-done presentation, and I'm in agreement with many of their concerns, especially landscaping and architectural requirements. In 2021, for health reasons, quality of life reasons, and the fact that my right-hand man, from operations standpoint, wanted to retire by the end of this year, I sold the remaining lots in phase 2, section 2, to another builder with the understanding they would use my architectural to finish phase 2. Long before the community began noticing inconsistency, we had been in contact with the builder regarding construction, address plaques, garage doors, shingle colors, as well as other various issues. We're trying to maintain that consistency within the overall community. Overall, there have been adjustments by the builder, but for me, landscaping has been the largest ongoing issue. And I hope the community will begin to notice significant changes as the builder has increased its landscaping package around the homes. And the developer, begin installing such things as street trees, common space landscaping, which is all starting at the end of this week now that the hot weather is done. So if you would now go to my presentation, please, I would appreciate it. So sort of fairly or unfairly, I'm going to sort of take their presentation, which was their call to action, and sort of go through these things and try to explain what we've done in regards to it. The first one was for the Planning Commission to leave the record open, which it was left open for 30 days. And it was then approved by the Planning Commission with this condition that I tried to work with the town of La Plata in regards to this additional access road. I did meet with the planning, the operations manager of the town of La Plata. There is not a desire by the town at all to add a second entrance through where public facilities is currently located. They need that land. They actually need more land. They're actually trying to buy the land that's in between the Public Works and Steeplechase from the other owner so they can continue to expand the Public Works area, because that is all needed. A traffic study should be conducted. I did a traffic study. I've submitted it. And it's going through the process. Stormwater management and sewer management analysis. These are actually items that are typically done during the preliminary approval. I will tell you, I have already done the step 1 approval. It has been done. It's been accepted by the town of La Plata. I'm 90% done. My step 2 process will be submitted to the town of La Plata, and then there will be a third step called third step of the stormwater management. An environmental assessment. I've already done an environmental assessment. We've contacted the Department of Natural Resources. We're not affecting any rare species or anything in phase 3. The developer reevaluated phase 3 to the community by reconsidering the proposed plan. The first one, adding another entrance exit to Route 301. This obviously is the elephant in the room. This was planned to be out here. In the original master site development plan from 2005, there's an access over here coming off of 301 down in that area where South Town Center is. As time has gone by, we've come to the realization that access is not possible because there's such a hole in that area that the back part property will never be developed for allow us to ever do that access. The second option was to go through Public Works in this area over here, and the town doesn't want to allow that to occur. Quite frankly, what happened is that in 2005, a master site plan was done. It showed those 2 access. Then Stagecoach came. Stagecoach started going through the process. And that's when we created the new second access. The second access is here by Ironwood Drive. The town contacted me. When I did the engineering here, I put the second access to go into Stagecoach. I even, per the request of the town, upgraded my sewer line all down this area from an 8-inch line to a 10-inch line, incurred about $60,000 in expense just to make sure if the sewer had to run through there, that would be done. So I've worked with the town from day one in making sure that we have a second access. I've worked with the town in regards to Stagecoach, in regards to if they had sewer needing to come through that area. And I believe if we get into the specifics of Mr. Lenhart's report in regards to the traffic study, at this point, based on his initial analysis, the intersections pass and we don't need a second access at the moment anyway. So that's the elephant in the room. I'll keep on pushing that. We created the second access. It's here. It's Stagecoach. Stagecoach just got approval with a preliminary approval back in June. In June, they're going through their engineering, and that's where it was supposed to be designated, and that's what's happening with it. Conducting an assessment of the amenities. We built a 7,378 square foot residence club there. It was much larger than anyone had ever built. There's no rule of thumb in regards to amenities. So most people say that building should be between 3,500 to 7,500 square feet in regards to the size. And we're at 7,378. The pool, again, I've been to communities where pools have been larger. I've been to where pools have been smaller. The amenity package that was built for Steeplechase works for the size of what the community is going to be grown for. Remove the 2 exits on Catalpa Drive from phase 1. Phase 3. Can you go to the next slide? So I did a slide here. So their concern is we put too many intersections in phase 3. Well, here's phase 2. Phase 2 actually has 12 intersections. Phase 1 has 11 intersections. Phase 3 actually only has 8 intersections. This is 192 units. This is 199 units. This is 189 units. The whole concept with the T&D is you create intersections. That's the flow of it. That was always the concept of it, and the phase 3 plan is consistent with what we were going to do. Incorporating more courtyards, parkyards, amenities. And what they're talking about here is open space. Can you go to the next slide, please? And go to the next slide, please. So I did a quick analysis. This is phase 2. If you come down a little bit farther, I hatched all these areas. These are what I would consider pocket parks within phase 2. And it was roughly 56,210 square feet. And you go to the next slide, please. Stay right there. We hatched in all the areas that are in the pocket parks in phase 3. It's actually 109,000 square feet. But we're actually creating as, if not more, open space in the way we've designed phase 3. Relocating the stormwater management ponds. Can you go to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Well, actually, we'll stay on. Let's go through let's move this on. Go ahead to the next slide, please. One more, please. One more, please. One more, please. Here, go back, please. Here are the 2 stormwater management ponds. One's projected to be located here. One's projected to be located here. Both of those are located in the lowest area of phase 3. So they're put in a place where they need to be located. Incorporating more single-family homes. So as I said, in phases 1 and 2, I only had 23 single families. In phase 3, I actually have 36 single families. So I'm actually doing more single families in phase 3 than I am in phases 1 and 2. Implementing parking alternatives. There was a big concern from the Planning Commission that they didn't want any parking on Catalpa Drive. I've eliminated on my plan, so there's not any plans, but it is a town road. I've given that fact to the town. I've said I don't need it from a parking requirement standpoint, but if the town wants to restrict it, it's up to them to do that, because it's not owned by Steeplechase. It's owned by the town. Re-engages with steadfast commitment to establish landscaping criteria, architectural criteria. I'm going to include that within the preliminary plan. Also, landscaping in regards to high visibility lots, and then ensuring transparency between the HOA. In conclusion, I get it. The homeowners in the village of Steeplechase have their homes and they don't want more traffic. More neighbors, less trees. They don't want to see their community change, and it's best And at best, they want to slow down the process. But is that fair to me, who has done everything correctly through the zoning process? I'm in the 2009 comprehensive plan. I'm in the 2020 comprehensive plan, which included the 9.49 acres. I respectfully ask to the town council to take the recommendation of your town staff and planning commission to approve the master site plan for phase 3 of the villages of Steeplechase. I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rammer. And we're trying not to sound like a broken record, but we want to emphasize it and we can't emphasize it enough. And I said this in front of the Planning Commission as well. When a developer approaches something like this, whether you are in favor of developers or not, they're businessmen, they're business people that are making a huge investment in the town of La Plata. There is a zoning ordinance, there are a set of rules, there are a set of guidelines, there are a set of procedures that the developers are entitled to follow. And I think with respect to this proceeding, we almost feel like the ball keeps moving just a little bit on us here and there. We obviously know that more detailed design is on the way with respect to this project. But for now, we're simply amending an existing master site development plan. We also know that the town is working on their adequate public facilities ordinance. At the moment, does not have one. However, our traffic engineer followed the same procedure that Director Harrington suggested earlier, and that is in preparing the traffic impact study, use the county APFO guidelines, and of course the state and recognized standards. So I'm not sure if you want to hear from our traffic engineer. I think I would prefer to, since he's here, ask him to summarize his report and his findings. Again, although not technically germane to this particular proceeding, since Mike is here, if it pleases the council, why don't we go ahead and hear from him?
I appreciate that because as Ron has said several times, it's the elephant in the room, and the more education we get out there to this process, the better we are. So thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. We conducted a traffic impact study. The intersections that we included were Route 301 at Glen Albin Road, 301 at Catalpa Drive, and 301 at Lindsbrook Place, which is the first crossover to the south of Catalpa Drive. We conducted traffic counts and added in background developments that had been previously scoped out with the town on similar projects down in that area. And as Mr. Scott indicated, the town does not have a policy or APF requirements, but we do on this project and on other studies that we've done in the town, we defer to the county adequate public facilities ordinance. They have a defined process and how you measure what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. State Highway does as well. And so we followed those processes. Everything does, all three of the intersections do pass with the exception of the Glen Albin Road, the stop controlled movement exiting Glen Albin Road onto Route 301 has a delay that exceeds the level of service threshold for the county's guidelines. And so in our study, we and our follow-up memorandum to the town, we suggested some improvements that could be done to Glen Albin that would help to address that situation. And I believe it was indicated that that study is going to be referred out to the state so that they'll take a look at it and we'll get their feedback and what they agree with or not.
Thank you. Questions from the council? I do have a question, and
Sure.
As you know, I can be very simple. What we're looking at tonight is 9.5 acres that are coming into a master site development plan. If I got this right, and please stop me if I don't, when it is, or if it is developed into that, they have to follow the same rules, regulations, guidelines, architectural designs, buffers, all of that. If it's under the master site development plan. If it's not, it is annexed and it is zoned already. Someone, Ron could sell that to someone else and they could develop on that piece of property. And right now it's currently zoned as R3, which is apartments. Am I correct on that?
Madam Mayor, the zoning history, the planning director reviewed just briefly earlier. The zoning history is, it's a little confusing because the zones that the MUD2 that the project is located in are no longer within the planning or the zoning ordinance. But the 9.5 acres, of course, can be enveloped into the master site development plan. And if it is, it will be required to be developed as part of steeplechase with the same rules and regulations and architectural control. If it's not enveloped into the master site development plan, it is still developable. That is correct. It is within the town. It has a zoning category. It's capable of being developed and used for an R3 equivalent ultra high density development, which could include, of course, multifamily apartments, townhouses, those kind of things. And of course, as Ron mentioned, I mean, I don't know that you'd ever get anybody to say that a developer is a good guy, but one of the reasons he bought the 9.5 acres was to include it within the steeplechase master site development plan so that it was not developed outside of those rules and guidelines and standards. So that's a long answer to your question, but yes, it is developable, and it can be developed for a very high density development.
Janine, please correct me if I'm wrong. I can just stop doing the amended master site development plan for the whole 30 acres of phase 3, take it out of the steeplechase SDT, have a MU3 zoning, and not have to follow any of the steeplechase regulations. I know it takes me a little bit longer to go through to do that, but I'm capable of just not having any of these requirements on phase 3. Am I saying that properly?
It's some summarization. It's like I said, the plan development zone is a little bit convoluted as to how the process would move forward. But you are correct that there is the land that has a zone on it and it can be developed.
As R3, which I could take the tire and do apartments or do whatever I really wanted to do on it with no controls to it.
And please understand, Madam Mayor, Council, and public, that's a factual answer. We're certainly not threatening.
No,
Threatening.
I'm not threatening at all.
No.
I'm trying to do the right thing.
Councilman Goldsmith is online and he has a question.
It wasn't so much a question as a statement I'd like to make. Mr. Reimer indicated that the quality of construction or the development there, since we have one council member who lives in there, 3 planning commission members who live in there, there's no doubt I think you've put together a good development at that point in time. One of the key concerns I think you're hearing from the residents, as well as what I've always had, and I wasn't here when you initially came in, and that is safety of having 2 entrances. I see that you're working on it. Question is that going to be enough safety to it? But at least I appreciate the fact that you're addressing it. Catawba Drive, yeah, that's something we can control. And something I think we will have to take a look at as far as parking along Catawba. Overall, I appreciate what you all have done so far, and the issue we're looking at tonight is whether just to include this in there. Thank you.
Any further questions for council? Go ahead.
Just follow up one question, Madam Mayor.
Oh, go ahead.
Again, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. I was a little fuzzy. I'm not sure who can answer the question, but what other efforts have or could be done for a second entrance other than Stagecoach? Because I'm a little fuzzy about the history of that attempt for a second entrance other than Stagecoach.
So One of the problems, and I think Director Harrington may want to, one of the problems is land ownership, and Steeplechase doesn't have any other land that touches Route 301, but I'm going to give this to Director Harrington. She looks like she wants to respond.
Of course I do. So the, to the north of, and it's kind of that weird land use, Southtown Center property that is located along 301. Part of the preliminary discussions with Ron on the development was to ensure that there was a way to connect to the Southtown Center property to the north. So I've had discussions with the owner of the Southtown Center property, and they will be taking that into consideration during their preliminary reviews to provide access from Steeplechase through their property to have another access out onto 301. So that is in discussion. So you would have the access through the Southtown Center to 301, the access to Catalpa, and then the access through Stagecoach Road. So otherwise, we're going to have to look at other mitigation strategies along 301 that can help to slow down traffic and to allow people to get out onto 301 to make the U-turn for the residents to access the roadway safely.
So the Southtown, thank you, the Southtown property, isn't that zone commercial?
That is zone commercial highway.
And then my other comment with respect to the accident data, and Mr. Linhart answered that question, thank you. There's a short, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but when folks leave, it's a right in, right out, and they're gonna go southbound, and your traffic report, majority of folks are gonna make the U-turn and go north. Okay, so that merging distance is pretty short, because I've done it, and I've even, well, I've done that. So that's why I was asking the issue about accidents and safety issues. So that I would just make an observation there. And so thank you for that answer. And that it's good that discussion hopefully will continue if and when that project develops.
Yes, like I said, if the master site development plan does move forward,
I mean, Southtown, I mean,
oh,
that
yeah, in
commercial
Southtown
project.
Center, if that moves forward, that is one of the
Okay.
requirements that I've made them aware of, that they have to provide that interparcel connection.
And then the Stagecoach option, which is, I guess, to the southeast, as I recall, and I'm sure I'll be corrected, but that would tie into what phase D or E or D or something of Stagecoach. It would be a number of years before that road is ever extended down to Stagecoach.
So that's a discussion that we have to have with
Right.
Stagecoach and the phasing. They do
Right.
have phases proposed. There's a spine road
Mhm.
that leads out to Old Stagecoach Road. Stagecoach has also submitted a traffic impact study that is a part of their review moving forward. Southtown Center has submitted a traffic impact analysis that was taken into consideration. And the Montero property that is just north of the Southtown Center property also submitted a traffic impact analysis, which is why when you look at our attachment A, it's taking into consideration all of the properties in the southwest quadrant. They're all going to have to work together to make sure that they are mitigating for traffic on 301. That is why we worded that the way we did.
Mhm. And then I'm assuming that Stagecoach, which is a county road, and given the extent of development of Stagecoach, they're going to have to make, I'm assuming they're going to have to make improvements to Stagecoach.
That is my understanding. Again, that's part of the traffic impact review, and we have Mead and Hunt that has a lot more knowledge than I do on
Right.
traffic, as well as input from the county and state highway administration.
And then the state will probably make them do some improvements to the median break there on 301.
Well, there's at the Old Stagecoach Road, that is a four-way intersection
Right.
and probably a likely place for a traffic signal.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Harrington. The comprehensive plan, land use plan was put together by the town of La Plata with input from the residents.
Correct.
And how we use the land.
Correct.
And the zoning code was put together by the town of La Plata. And it is a requirement for a developer to meet the use of that comprehensive plan in the zoning code.
That is correct.
In order to develop land, and he's done that. with that being said, and I said that for the benefits of my neighbors, because I've seen everything that's been said and the concerns that have been brought forward. But the concerns are really at the preliminary plat level. What recourse do they have when we get to the preliminary plat and those two exits are not put in place?
What do you mean by that?
So if we don't identify more than one way in and one way out, what can my neighbors do? What is it they can do about that?
So that's where we have to communicate with State Highway Administration. The only other way, if we can't get another access to 301, the only thing that we can look at is mitigation efforts on 301. So whether that is improvements to Glen Albin at 301, looking, again, we have to communicate with the interparcel connections that are proposed. Are you moving forward? Are you not moving forward? Those are all follow-up conversations that we need to have to see how quickly those are going to proceed forward. But otherwise, like I said, we have to communicate and stress the importance to State Highway on what mitigations we can do to slow down traffic on 301 and allow the residents the opportunity to get out and merge safely to make a U-turn there. So that Glen Albin, I believe, and again, I know Jamie Kendrick with Bean Hunt did the majority of the review and has a lot of the information that I don't have. But Glen Albin has been shown, and I think they even showed that in their traffic impact analysis, is that Glen Albin at 301 is a difficult intersection, and there is a high crash volume there. So that is something that we would probably pay close attention to, and to see what we could do to slow traffic down in that area.
Thank you.
And I think it would be prudent upon us to, if that has been identified, perhaps write a letter to the 301, to the State Highway to have them look at that.
Yeah, like I said, that is an ongoing discussion with this current traffic impact study review, as well as Stagecoach and Southtown Center and the Montero property. And again, that's why we worded the stipulation condition, however we want to put it, in attachment A, the way we did, to show that it's not necessarily just Steeplechase's obligation to improve the safety in that southwest quadrant. It's all of those properties coming together to develop is what's going to cause the issues.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from council? All right, Mr. Town Clerk, has there been any written documents entered into the record?
Yes, Madam Mayor, they are attached, two from the Planning Commission public hearing and one for tonight.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Town Clerk, has there been a list of people who would like to speak this evening? So this one is. Okay. Okay, wonderful. First up to speak is last name Pendergrass. If you could state your name, if you live within the incorporated town limit, and then try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? My name is Alfonso Pendergrass. I live in the incorporated town limits of La Plata, of the town of La Plata. While I'm starting here, I would like to stress the fact that Lynbrook Drive has two entrances for the public works, for that public works facility. One is Lynbrook and one is just to the south of it. And if they're acquiring more land to the south, I don't see why Lynbrook could not be adjoined to be an exit and or entrance point for the villages of Steeplechase. And that would also connect to the Stagecoach Road. So there would be 3 ways to get out of our property, but 2 miles down the road for Stagecoach is not the answer. So I'm gonna go back on script.
All right.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, or Town Council members, audience. We understand the primary focus has been the developer's compliance with the La Plata Comprehensive Plan and Town Code. What we don't understand is why there's been little focus on our safety and enforcing the common sense, the elephant in the room. We don't understand why a proper traffic impact study was not done before Steeplechase was initially developed. We also Don't understand why Charles County has strict requirements for secondary access points, yet the town of La Plata does not. Per the trip generation multipliers in the Institute of Traffic Engineers Manual, 581 lots is in Steeplechase would generate approximately 4,200 vehicle trips per day. That traffic study that was done, that was submitted, only accounted for, if I read it correctly, only accounted for 193 additional homes. It did not include the overall traffic impact and or homes that are in Steeplechase. Chapter 278-74C of Charles County Subdivision Ordinance states that a residential proposal that generates 1,000 combined vehicle trips per day automatically triggers a requirement for a secondary access point. Here we are. Using this standard, Charles County would not approve the current number of lots in Steeplechase, let alone the additional ones proposed in phase 3. Steeplechase has only one access point along the southbound lane of 301. This requires us to exit onto 301, immediately cross 2 lanes of high-speed traffic, and then make a U-turn to head north on 301. Most of our residents do that. And then we try to do that safely, but it can be harrowing. And this morning, I watched the school bus have to do that exact same thing. So I'm asking and begging this town council to consider the fact that our children are riding on buses that have to do the same thing, that are much slower and not as agile. This has become increasingly dangerous as the number of homes in our community increases and the traffic on 301 continues to worsen. Excuse me. Any traffic study performed by the developer must study the impacts to US 301 and Route 6 intersection, not just the southbound traffic patterns. We believe the traffic study submitted by the developer late yesterday is not accurate and should be reviewed and corrected to indicate the correct housing units, both current and planned in phase 3. Earlier this month, your own planning commission stated, for the record, that the future interconnection stagecoach crossing subdivision, which I mentioned earlier, is not sufficient to address the overwhelming negative impacts of the residents of Steeplechase. Quote from your planning commission: the applicant, in coordination with the town, shall proceed and design and construct a second access point for the project. As a feasible possibility should be explored at an interconnection at Lindsbrook Place, which is what I mentioned before. A future traffic signal over 2 miles away at Stagecoach intersection years in the future is of no meaningful benefit to the residents of Steeplechase at this time. Defer your decision on this amended proposal in the town of La Plata, until the town of La Plata has adopted adequate public facility requirements. And we feel that the developer is taking financial advantage of our town and jeopardizing the livability of our community and the safety of our residents. Please choose what's right. We need that second exit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miss Cindy Barner?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the Town Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on the proposed Phase 3 amendment to the master plan site for Steeplechase. My name is Cindy Barner, an active, proud member of Steeplechase at 236A Buckeye Circle. Tonight, I would like to highlight a few areas of concern. 1, the number of entry and exits. 2, the safety, and also the traffic in and around our community. The original plan shows more than one entrance to 301. However, the current plan submitted only shows a single point of entry. It is a matter of when we will experience being blocked in and cannot enter or exit our residents. With the expansion of more homes, this will increase the number of vehicles, causing the probability of more accidents and incidents to grow within Steeplechase and our surrounding areas. Why not plan for the art of possible, vice deal with the results of poor planning and have our town residents subject to a ripple effect if these things are not addressed now? Not to mention, when construction begins in Phase 3, we literally will have no place to go if Catawba Drive is shut down. Offering Stagecoach as an option is not 100% viable In fact, it will only increase the traffic through our neighborhood. By adding a few options to enter and exit, you will increase the safety to the residents. When I lived in Quailwood, I was followed home by someone that was committed to cause me harm. And because of my ability to recognize the risk and have the know-how to exit another way, I was not a victim that night. And steeplechase does not offer the same type of exit strategy. So personally, that does have a lasting impact on me. I even mentioned this to Mr. Ron Reimer before purchasing my home, and he led me to believe that there would be additional ways in and out. And of course, I think that was the intention. And as things have developed, there have been changes to that proposed plan. But moving on to the traffic, and I think, again, we've all addressed that it is continuously to be becoming more and more dangerous due to the surge of new homes in the area. Why not live in La Plata? It's great, right? But ignoring the safety concerns that would ultimately have harmful impacts and even possible fatalities to our residents doesn't seem like the best way forward. The traffic study on record shows a number of numbers related to phase 3 only. That's 189 homes. This is only 1/3 of the effects. The study has a narrow viewpoint. I would encourage you to take a full look at the bigger picture and take into the data and multiply that by 3. That will give you a big, broad viewpoint and a complete picture. Offering a traffic signal seems to be the most logical answers at the main entrance. Thank you. I appreciate Mr. Reimer's attempt to adjust the plan and consider some changes. However, I'm in the opinion that had we not expressed a public opinion, we might not have seen these good intentions going inward versus waiting to the planning phase of the part of it. But with education, I've learned a lot. But I am in favor of growth and expansion and for the developer to complete the project. My expectations for the project would be identical to phase 1. And I would like to leave with a quick analogy. The phase 1 is like the firstborn child. You do everything specially right. Everything has to be perfect. Phase 2, things slide. It's okay. Phase 3 is like the 3rd or 4th child, whereas if the child is breathing and no broken bones, we're doing something right. So I would love for us to continue to operate in excellence like phase 1, and allowing the plan to go forward as is would seem to be careless because we have so many positive solutions. I respectfully request additional conditions to be included moving forward, and I would appeal to the council and ask for you to put yourself in our shoes, our homes, and ponder all the possible solutions going forward. Thank you so much, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Town Clerk, these are the only 2 that I had sign up. Is there anybody online that has indicated they would like to speak?
We haven't seen anybody online indicate that they would like to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Few seconds.
All right. I would like to invite you to come down to Steeplechase. Let us show you our proposed entrance and exit point that we're talking about that would join 301 and Lynchbrook Drive. Just come down and walk it. It's a fairly easy fix. Steeplechase. And I don't know about cost, but that's not my issue. What I am concerned about is safety. Ron has done a great job of trying to address our public interest about the internal community, but we need to figure out how we get that exit done. So please, come down, come see me, call me. I'm working from home. So
love that.
Easy for me to come see you or you to come see us and we can walk you through what our proposal, one of the proposals for our entrance and exit, second entrance and exit.
Well, thank you. And I really do appreciate the residents taking an active role in the future of your development there. So, and we all have great ideas. And as you said, you're not you don't know how it's going to get done, but it looks like that. I do a lot of that stuff too, and they tell me, Mayor James, you can't do that, but that's all right. It's an idea and it sparks other ideas. So thank you for that. Additional questions by council to Mr. Scott, come on down again. It's like rotating chairs here. Mr. Reimer, don't be shy. All right, council, any additional questions or comments?
Yeah, Councilman Jenkins, I have I've been in that, I've taken time to go into the community. I've lived here for a long time, and so I'm not the expert, but I certainly have visited and driven in the community. I've also, probably shouldn't have done this, but I've also ridden my bike through there as well. And so I understand and appreciate the opportunity. And again, my concern again is also, as stated here, the second entrance. And I certainly, from my perspective, understand Mr. Reimer and Mr. Scott's arguments about compliance and the process and approve it. And yeah, and I understand all that. I get it. But there was an earlier comment about safety, and that really, really concerns me about safety. And again, this is not to point fingers or blame. We're here today, but frankly, regardless of whether Phase 3 develops as it is, as an amended master plan, or it's R3 or something else, the same problem will still be there. We're still going to have an issue of access into the property, a second entrance, and it worries me a lot about what happens if there's some kind of an emergency and that road's blocked. And I recall last winter at Hickory Ridge, which has one way in as well, and a tree fell over during one of the winter storms, and I don't know how long the road was blocked, but it took them a while to clear the tree. And I also remember, because I've been here long enough to know that at one time Kings Grant had one entrance, but now they have two. And admittedly, Maryland 48 is not a fully divided highway, so it's a different, but I'm just suggesting that they found a way to get a second entrance. Thank you.
Any more comments? I do have one comment, I guess. I heard both speakers indicate that the traffic study only took into account of 189 homes instead of 500 homes. Is that
So-
true? What's the reasoning behind that?
I'm gonna, of course, not being a traffic engineer, and Mike had to leave, but I've heard him give enough presentations. So the traffic study would take into account already existing volumes and already existing traffic counts. And it would then build on that with the impact of the proposed new section is what happened there.
Okay. And then, of course, as we said, a number of times, again, it's the single point of entry. Again, I'm going to be very simple. If the 9 acres is not incorporated into the master site development plan, it's still out there, it can be developed. The entry here, whether we do something or not do something, it does not solve the problem of the entry right here. Right, what we're talking about right now is whether or not we have those 9 acres fall under the umbrella of the master site development plan and get built that way. Whatever happens today, there's not a solution for a second entrance. So that's what I need to make sure that it is clearly stated, that if we do not move forward with incorporating the 9 acres, 9.5 acres into the master site development plan, you still have one entrance. And so, yeah, but they can still develop the 183. So what I guess I'm saying as simply as I can, what the council needs to look at is, of course, safety. And of course, we will work with the state, the town, the county, whoever we need to make sure that that subdivision is safe. But our task today is to say yes to 9 acres, 9.5 acres being developed under an umbrella of the master site development plan, or no, knowing full well that it can be developed without the same guidelines. That's where I sit, and that's what I think is the decision we have to make today. We could put in stipulations, as Director Harrington said. So, did I see you wanting to speak?
Not just the 9.5 acres, 9.49 acres. If we do not vote to amend this plan, understand that the existing master site development plan has 183 homes. So you're still in the same boat. That has already been approved. So if he doesn't develop add the land to add the additional 6 homes, he still has 183 homes that's already been approved that he is going to build and develop, and we're going to be in the exact same situation. We have heard that once we get to the preliminary plat, it is incumbent upon our planning department to continue to work with the state and the county. We are not county, and none of our building guidelines fall up under the county. You quoted the county. That has nothing to do with us. We have our own comprehensive land use plan, which pretty much coincides with the county's plan. So if we were to say no tonight, you're not in any better shape. You're just losing 6 homes. It's 183 homes under the existing master site development plan that he can move forward with. This doesn't really solve the problem. The problem will be solved when we get to the preliminary plat proposal. That's what and I know you heard me because you've regurgitated everything. We understand that. And I do want, you get it. I want everybody to get it.
Councilman Goldsmith, did you have a comment?
Basically, as I commented previously, the concern is the safety of the community. One access point is a major, major point, and we'll be looking at that additionally on the preliminary plat. But at this point in time, I concur with Councilman Bryant Ward's comments, as well as yours as well. This happened many, many years ago before us. And today, as we look at any new annexations, one of the key points we look at, how many access points are to that land property, and to create the safety we need. So I understand that. That's my only comment.
Thank you very much. Mr. Scott, if you'd like to have some closing statements, please. Brief.
Madam Mayor and Council,
Brief.
briefly, sure.
Brief.
Actually, with that prompting, unless you have any other questions, I think we've done enough for tonight, and we would respectfully request that we get past this stage, and we'll be careful what we ask for, because we've got to come back to the Planning Commission for the next stage, and obviously these are issues which will come up again.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
At this time, I would like to conclude tonight's hearing. Do I have a motion to close tonight's public hearing?
Madam Mayor, I move that we close tonight's public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Does that mean the public record's closed too? Or not?
Yes, the public record is closed as well.
I'm going to vote no for that.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. Now you all can stay. We're going on to our next agenda item. Thank you very much on that. Next on the agenda is matters of council discussion, trash trucks. Mr. Stahl.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Craig, I sent you an email. I understand. You can't, no, can you pick it up though? Is there any way to put it on the board? I don't know whether it's possible, but I'm sorry, we just have been working on it all day, so.
It's not from April and June is attached. The amendment, you can go to the
It's not a big issue if it is.
because it's not.
Mr. Stahl, are you stalling?
I am.
I'm sorry. It was there. It was there.
What, as you know, Madam Mayor, back in June, we brought you an increase in price on the trucks,
Oh, I
on the
remember.
trash trucks. I'm sure you do. I do too. I promise you. The challenge with the trucking industry, and I would quote the Kiplinger report for this week, there is still a major problem with new truck deliveries in the United States. And that will continue for at least the next year, maybe two. There is a tremendous backlog in that industry, and due to a lack of chips, they're not producing the trucks. You asked me to go back and look at this and to try and re-examine how we could do this. We have been trying many different ways to figure out how to, number one, find the trucks and also be able to get in the pipeline for receiving those trucks. We have been in discussions with PACCAR, which is the ownership corporation of both Peterbilt and Kenworth. As you're also aware, we just ordered a new Vector truck that won't be delivered until next fall, even though we ordered it today. Manassas Kenworth indicated that they were going to get 9 trucks total in 2023. Wow. Of those 9, 7, all 9 are already committed, and 7 were going to Tom's truck. We then were trying to figure out how we were going to put together a procurement where we could actually get trucks, because right now you can't even order a truck. There are no trucks to be ordered. PACCAR indicates that if we wanted to order a truck now, most likely it would be in the 2025 model year before we could order trucks to our specification. We went back and we were working with Sourcewell, with our, which we are a member of, and that was it's the new name for the National Joint Purchasing Alliance. And we do purchase things from time to time through Sourcewell. And so Sourcewell has a contract with PACCAR through Truck Enterprises, which is Manassas Kenworth. And we were able to acquire a bid for the chassis through Manassas Kenworth through Tom's Truck. Tom's Truck is getting 7 of those single axle trucks and could provide us with a bid that we could potentially get one of those 7 trucks this fall if we were to approve it. The actual Sourcewell, it's a very complex scenario for the Sourcewell pricing. It is generally based on the fact that you would order a truck. So when we buy through Sourcewell, you would generally order that truck. In this case, the trucks were already spec'd by Tom's Truck. And so even ordering the chassis through the Sourcewell bid is somewhat convoluted, to say the least. The price for the Kenworth chassis on a spec truck based on the actual Kenworth quote is $123,000, I think $300. Tom's Truck has quoted us a price that we actually got from them of $105,000 thousand and some change on the actual Sourcewell contract quote. The total for each truck is $209,900. It is my recommendation to this council that we amend our procurement rules at this point on this procurement to allow for the purchase of 2 trash trucks at the $209,900. Because I don't believe that I can come to you today and say, we have a straight Sourcewell bid. We do not. The Packmore body is not on a Sourcewell bid. The truck chassis is actually, they have a contract through Truck Enterprises with Sourcewell for this. But in conversations between myself, Chris DeMar, and Tom Himmler, our procurement person, none of us feel comfortable coming forward to you today saying we actually have a Sourcewell bid for this truck. Because in order to do that, we would actually have to order that truck, and there would be an official order through PACCAR, and then it would come in, and the truck body would be mounted based on a specific order from PACCAR. PACCAR is not accepting any truck bids, any truck orders at this point, and as they've indicated to us, most likely we wouldn't be able to order the truck until 2025 model year. So my recommendation is that we would order 2 trucks from Tom's Truck. They would be the same trucks that we have today, the newer model. They would be 2023s. They're not exactly what we would spec. They actually have a lower gross vehicle weight rating. They're actually 33,000 pound trucks. Our trucks that we normally order would be 36,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating. But I think in the long run, looking at our needs for the town of La Plata and for a growing town, we need trucks. And we are having, I had actually Danny Wood, our mechanic, was out today with a sick child. And he had, when his wife came home from work, he came in tonight to work on one of our trash trucks so that we could have it ready for tomorrow morning. It is getting to be a challenge with us to keep the trucks because they are older. We have 2 that are 2015s and 1 that's 2017. They're still useful, but we really need to upgrade the fleet. And I would encourage you to allow Mr. Manuel to issue a purchase order to Tom's Truck for 2 of the spec'd trash trucks at $209,900 each. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Council. Any questions? Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So when will we get the trucks? If we were to amend our purchase agreement, when will we get these 2 trucks?
Our hope would be that we would have them by the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Town Manager, what are the consequences of us amending our purchasing agreement for the benefit of ordering these 2 trucks?
Yes, Madam Councilwoman. We'll call it extenuating circumstances, as Director Stahl has explained, with supply chain difficulties. I bring it back to the lowest common denominator. We need trash trucks, and we're starting to incur a great deal of expense trying to maintain vehicles that have outlived their useful life. It's not as clean as we would like, but we still feel like we did a good job looking at comparative pricing and found that this to be maybe not exactly what we want. As Director Stahl stated, it's a little bit smaller truck, but it is available, and we do need the So I don't know if I answered your question,
No.
but
My question, yeah, I totally get why. I got that, and I'm good with that. I'm asking, what are the consequences for amending our purchasing process the way it exists now for the benefit of getting these two trucks? What is the future effect of making this amendment? Or do we have to make an amendment and can we not vote to just bypass the process so that we can get these trucks because of extenuating circumstances?
yeah, I think you could bypass the process. Of course, each expenditure with the provision in our charter that requires any expenditure over $20,000 to come to council, each individual expenditure is handled on its own merits.
Okay.
So ideally, when, if we didn't have supply chain issues, we'd have a nice clean bid to come to you for your consideration. Unfortunately, with this circumstance, it is not anything clean about it. It is sort of, as Bobby has explained, a little bit more involved. And, we just want to make sure you're comfortable with it. That's why we've explained it to you, because it is so unusual. At the same time, I think it is in the best interest of the town to move forward with the
But we
proposal.
wouldn't have to make an amendment to our procurement process.
No, you would probably just suspend the provisions
Okay,
thereof.
that's my question. And I do understand supply chain issues. Trust me.
It's very challenging right now.
Yes, it is. I get it.
I know.
Councilman Jenkins?
Thank you, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4. Thank you for that, and I certainly get it. Asked a $1,000 question. How do we pay for it? I mean, is it in the budget or is it extra?
We have,
ARPA?
fund balance is what we're planning to use. We have over $1 million in fund balance in the sanitation fund. And our intention is to use fund balance from the sanitation fund to purchase these two trucks.
And I think, Mr. Town Manager, you or Mr. Stahl, you indicated that Mr., I'm going to mispronounce his name, Mr. Himmler.
Thomas Himmler.
So he's comfortable, given that he's been like our de facto procurement person?
Well, let me say this, we are not comfortable. I think what we are comfortable with is coming to you and saying, we think we need these trucks and that we should move forward with the purchase of these trucks because we can get them. We're not comfortable coming to you saying, we have a clean Sourcewell bid for this and that, there's a very clean procurement. Your procurement guidelines for the town of La Plata allow us to do several things. We can go out for a public bid where we put the specifications out and open it up to everyone to bid on this, which we did not do because our intention was to go through Sourcewell. Your procurement rules also allow you to piggyback on other governmental contracts. In this case, we have always used Sourcewell as one of those piggybacking opportunities. We had worked very hard. Chris had put a lot of time into getting a Sourcewell bid for this truck from Tom's Truck and ensuring that we could get 2 of the 7 trucks that were allotted to Tom's and get into that pipeline. The challenge in our discussions with Tom and with Chris and myself was that we just don't feel that even though there's a Sourcewell contract number, that is actually a contract for the purchase of the chassis itself, not the entire truck. Now, we have been trying to get comparables today. We had been meeting with Tom yesterday, and we've been doing a lot of work. I do have some comparables where we have priced other trucks with 20-yard bodies, and we found 2 in Florida. One was $230,000 plus, one was $241,000. And so I can share those with the council.
I'm just trying to get to the point where I understand all that difficulties and challenges. I'm just trying to, it seemed like our consultant is, given the circumstances, is comfortable with it going this route. That's all.
He would be comfortable saying that we would have to amend our procurement rules to do this. He's not comfortable saying under the procurement rules that we have a a bid that is, that meets our procurement guidelines at this point. It doesn't.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we know about the supply chain issue right now. It's affecting a lot. So we're looking for a consensus to see if we are willing to move this down to legislation. So Councilman Goldsmith, what do you think?
I support the idea going forward.
All right, Councilwoman Bryant Ward?
I saw a truck broke down on Catawba on Friday. I support the idea of moving forward.
Were you able to get around it? I'm sorry. Councilman.
I can't believe that you actually said that. But anyway, no, I'm
Councilman.
comfortable, given the circumstances that we're in. You hate to be, but yes, move forward with it.
And Mayor James says, yes, we have a consensus to move forward. Thank you very much for that.
Mayor James, I will point out that the legislation that's attached with the agenda is maybe not as consistent as it needs to be for consideration later in the meeting. I don't know if we want to get together. And when I say we, I mean Bobby and Craig get together and see if we can square that up before it comes up, or Kelly maybe square that up so that we can have something consistent that we can take forward in a couple agenda items away.
Okay, thank you. All right, now on to, the consent agenda. I know that we have attached that to the agenda. Mr. Town Clerk?
Yes. Since last week, we presented to the council the rules of procedures, council rules of procedures that were empowered by Resolution 2123. You wanted to see a side-by-side comparison of what it was and what it has become. And now that you've looked at that, we want to revisit back to when we introduced it to you earlier or later in July. Yeah. And we had talked about the consent agenda and the agenda approval, which aren't covered by the procedures in 2123. So I think what Legislative Services is looking for is a consensus to incorporate those into the procedures and eventually work those into code.
Okay, so I'm looking for a consensus, if we can work that into code on the consent agenda. Councilman Goldsmith.
I support it.
Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
I was just going to point out that along with the consent agenda was also the approval of agenda. So those would coincide each other. That way, if council saw an item that they wanted to pull out of the consent agenda and have discussion on, that could take place during that part of the agenda. So it would be consent agenda and also approval or adoption of agenda.
Are you okay with that, Councilman Goldsmith?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Councilwoman Bryant Ward? Yes. Councilman Jenkins?
Yes.
And Mayor James, yes. So we have a consensus, and we would love to see that in 21-23, that lovely, lovely resolution. All right, moving on, resolution 22-14. We have discussed that we're going to table that because it's not.
I think they're working on it. So if we want to move through to 6.2, we can maybe come back to.
Oh, a surprise entry. Okay. A resolution 22-29 revised MSDP steeplechase phase 3. Do I have I'm sorry, I'm taking away your thunder there, Mr. Brent.
Oh, it's quite all right, Mayor James. Madam Mayor and Town Council, a resolution concerning Villages of Steeplechase, revised master site development plan for the purpose of approving a revised master site development plan for the Village of Steeplechase.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Manuel. Do I have a motion to accept resolution 22-29?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept Resolution 22-29 revised master site development plan, Steeplechase Phase 3.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Madam Mayor, the Councilman Jenkins does two questions. So this does include the attachment A? This resolution, does it include attachment A?
As the attachment A is, as it's downloading. And Mr. Manuel, correct me when I'm wrong, the stipulations, if we don't have, it says,
Yeah, I believe the motion only addressed the application. I don't believe it addressed the attachment.
okay. So it is just the master site development plan of the 9.5 acres.
And
And,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. So that's the motion on the table and your second question?
If you look at, I guess it's page 6 of 7, line 230, 11 in parentheses, it says a cost revenue analysis of the proposed development plan development. Has that ever been done? I mean, it says, I know this is probably after the fact, but I've never seen a cost revenue analysis, and it's in this resolution, so I'm not quite, I'm unsure about that.
Okay, so it was done. All right,
So,
yes.
Well,
So
how long ago was it done?
a long, long time ago.
In a galaxy far away, or I mean,
Just-
it just concerns me that,
In,
so what, 2005?
So it goes all the way back. And it's, the market has changed over time and that's.
Sure,
why
sure.
Units have changed.
And then, so then what is attachment A? But it's not part of the resolution then, right? Is that?
There's
No,
one
but-
resolution that I guess includes it. Is that correct? And there's one resolution that does not. And as I've identified the motion that was made, and Councilwoman Bryant Ward can correct me, as being the resolution that did not include the attachment
okay, and that was seconded.
by Councilman
Any-
Goldsmith.
And any further discussion? I will take a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, it's 3-1, motion carries. All right, new business, commission reports. Councilman Goldsmith out there on your vacation.
I have nothing to report. We did not meet this time.
All right, thank you. Councilman Trollinger, I'm sure he will update us next month. Councilwoman Bryant Ward.
I have nothing to report.
Councilman Jenkins.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Councilman Jenkins, Ward 4, the Planning and Recreation Commission, I'm sorry, the Parks and Recreation Commission, I have planning on my brain. We met on September the 14th on a virtual meeting. Items discussed, including an update from Kelly Phipps, Interim Director of Legislative Services regarding opportunity and some fun, hopefully to a plan to improve the amphitheater at Wills Park and provide a grants update. We then had a discussion again of our 2011 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. We got an update with respect to the Radio Station Road bike trail. And then we had a discussion about the Charles County is updating their master plan, and they're proposing 3 different new parks, one of which is called La Plata Farm County, which is adjacent to and south of Wills Park. And they've requested folks who are interested to be on a task force. Ms. Phipps and I are on that task force.
Excellent.
We had our first meeting last week, about 35 individuals. And so they provided us an opportunity to comment on all 3 parks. And our next meeting will be on November the 14th. And then I've made sure that the chair, Vicki Kelly, has also been informed of our attendance and participation in that task force, as well as Ms. Minor as well.
Wonderful.
And that's my report, subject to any questions you have.
Thank you. Upcoming events, we have coming up our Fall Festival. Well, Rocktoberfest is on Saturday. Lobster Fest is on Sunday, October 2nd. We've got our Fall Festival coming up October 9th. I know that many of us will be attending the MML Fall Festival. We have the trick or treating. So we've got a very busy month in October. And one other thing, Councilwoman Bryant Ward, do you have a couple nominations you might want to make for the Ethics Committee? We have some willing and able, fantastic residents that have expressed an interest in serving on our ethics board. And we would like to bring their nominations to a vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was under the impression you were going to bring them forward.
Oh,
We interviewed two candidates for the Ethics Commission, Kimberly Banks and Chandra Maui. Both candidates were very impressive with great backgrounds, and we would like to move them forward to be considered for the Ethics Commission.
fantastic. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. One other thing that we have added to this agenda is a public comment for anybody that would like to comment on the comments that they heard tonight. So anybody like to speak this evening? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Yes, I'm good. Do I have a second?
We're
Oh,
going to wait on our, let's see if.
oh, wait a minute. We might,
We haven't, yeah.
I repeal that motion to adjourn. Hang on. We're
Getting it typed up. All right. Not letting you have that easy.
But there's more. Hang on.
Yeah.
Liam will be here, Travis and Harris, to present the council with our reaccreditation certificate. At 5:15, we will host a reception in the lobby. We actually have Dish Pizza in Chicago that will be here. The folks over at Pizza Hut is going to heat it for us. So we can only take a few of our folks to Chicago for the hearing. We're going to bring Chicago here when Travis comes to present it.
Fantastic.
Well
Thank
done.
you for that update. And I'm sorry, I did forget to mention again, the Faith and
Blue.
Faith and Blue on October 8th. All right. The anticipation is killing me. We have it?
Popping it up. Okay. Patience.
What I lack. These are. I got the pen. I've got the pen.
Do you want us to read it?
This is.
I thought my glasses.
And so he, look, this was what. Now, if you put up the agenda. It can't just be me.
I'm happy to do that. I think we have the resolution, Madam Mayor.
Okay. If you would read it, please.
Yes, resolution concerning operations, 2 trash truck purchases for the purpose of authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract purchase agreement for the purchase of 2 new trash trucks.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept resolution 22-14 as presented?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 22-14, operations 2 trash truck purchases.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for a great meeting.
8:23.